I'm aiming to 100% every game in my Steam library. I play a wide variety of games, and earning every achievement makes me feel like I've gotten the most out of the game and the most bang for my buck. Today, I'm grabbing all the achievements for Hollowbody is an atmospheric, futuristic survival horror game developed and published by Headwear Games. Sporting a baddie female protagonist with a choice of third-person or fixed-camera perspective, this is essentially Diet Silent Hill. I don't say that as a dig, more so just a combination of words to help the chronically online understand what we're in for. With 26 achievements up for grabs, let's get into the grind. The game opens up informing us of a tragic incident that has unfolded along the coast of the British Isles. Suspected to be a bioterrorism attack of unknown origin, government authorities and security firms raced against the clock to evacuate those deemed as higher value citizens from the area, sending them to the neighboring cities. As an attempt to stop the virus from spreading, the contaminated city was walled off, sealing them away from the rest of civilization. With the quarantine zone now sectioned off, they began bombing the area in hopes of incinerating and eliminating the contagion, ultimately destroying any hope for those who remained within the walls. 60 years have passed since the initial outbreak, and there's a select few still fighting and searching for answers as to what happened, seeking justice. We're then introduced to the research team planted on the outskirts of the collapsed city. Taking control of Sasha, we follow a man named Charlie down to the shore and regroup with the other team members. Charlie attempts to trauma bond with us, and we learn that Sasha's mother was one of the children that made it out of the city many years ago, and we're here to learn more and find those accountable. Arriving at the shore, the team questions why a man named Mark is not with us. Having not seen him, we head off to locate him. We travel down one of the branching paths and find a crevice in the wall. Heading through, we come to a large pit, seemingly having no bottom. Turning around, we hear a gross laugh and see a grotesque figure, and the screen cuts to black. We're then placed in Mika's apartment 12 days later. This is who we will be playing as for the duration of the game. Mika is talking with a man named Tax over the radio system. Concerned about the disappearance of Sasha, we're making plans of traveling to her last known location in hopes of bringing her home. Tax gives us the rundown of the location and prepares us for the steps we need to take to make it to our destination, informing us that once we're there, we're on our own. Setting off in our hovercar, we make our way to the city, running into a storm that fries our systems, sending us crashing down into the heart of the quarantine zone. With our car destroyed, our radio signal hindered from the storm, not only do we need to locate Sasha, but now we need to figure out how to evacuate the area once we're finished. This is where we emerge from the wreck with the immediate goal of healing up and finding higher ground in hopes of boosting the radio signal to contact Tax. Making our way down the road, limping from the crash, we find a repair spray in the back of an ambulance, and upon use we're able to move to our full potential. This repair spray will come into play later on in the video as well. Around the corner, our radio starts to static with a prompt telling us to use it. Using it starts this small cutscene of sorts, giving us a glimpse into the past, echoing a conversation had by the people who once lived here. There's several of these prompts throughout the game, and these are one of the collectibles. After listening to the transmission, we pop our first Chieve, State Regulations, for finding the first signal. Hollowbody has 3 sets of collectibles, which I wanted to get out of my way during my first playthrough. There's 3 endings altogether, with one of them requiring you to play on the hardest difficulty with certain criteria that we'll touch on later. I spent a lot of time scouring each and every corner accessible to me in hopes of finding everything I needed to eliminate all collectibles in my first run. Pressing on, we make it to the large apartment building and head inside. The goal is to make it to the roof in hopes of the radio signal breaking through the storm so we can reach Tax and inform him of what's going on. The apartment building is disheveled and full of corpses of the previous tenants. The visuals paint the picture of the final weeks of the people that were abandoned trying to scrape by as long as they could before ultimately succumbing to starvation, the virus, or deciding to opt out on their own terms. Documents are littered throughout the world and are another set of collectibles. These come in the form of newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, and occasionally drawings. Roaming around the apartments looking for these, I ran into another radio prompt. Listening to another echo of the past earns us the Occupational Hazard achievement for finding the second signal. Eventually, within the apartments, we're introduced to our first enemy. It's easy to tell when there's one around from the audio cues. The enemies produce this radio static noise mixed with a high-pitched wheeze and shriek, along with either some sort of distorted laugh or baby crying audio. It's very off-putting. We take out the creature and are met with one of the more substantial puzzles. I needed to piece things together to acquire a code to unlock this safe. This, admittedly, took me entirely too long to figure out, but we got there in the end. Opening the safe rewards us with a key, granting us access to the other floors of the building. Continuing on through the apartment building, we head back to the lockbox where we entered. Opening it gives us a key to the first floor gate, as well as a card scanner. This allows us to turn the room key we found earlier into a master key to access any apartment within the complex. Well, any apartment but one. The game has a ton of backtracking to do, so we'll be making an appearance back here later on. We make our way through every apartment, scouring for notes and anything we can find before heading through the first floor gate. Past the gate, we find the third signal in one of the new rooms and pop the High and Dry achievement for that. Completing a small puzzle here to repair an electrical box restores the power, enabling us to use the elevator to head to the roof to try to make contact with Tex. Heading out onto the roof, we run into this man. This guy right here, plays a crucial role in determining what ending you receive. Going through the dialogue with him will result in one of two outcomes. Either he will jump, or he will retreat off the ledge, and that one simple outcome will lock you in for one of the three endings. In this first playthrough of mine, he jumped. Once done on the roof, we head outside to a new area. The residential street is littered with enemies. With the first handful, I decided to hone my combat skills to try to get better at fighting. Taking them out, I head down the street and find this metal contraption that requires a card to use. This is a very important machine and will be something we have to backtrack to here in a bit. Heading further down the street, we notice that one of the houses has a light on in one of the windows upstairs. The front door is locked, and this is yet another thing to keep in mind for some backtracking in a moment. Nearby, we find an offshoot alleyway with some targets at the end. Investigating closely, we find a quiver loaded with arrows. It's important that we found these as it's tied to one of the weapon-related achievements. Making it to the end of the first section of street, we crawl through a small gate in the wall and enter a new area, immediately encountering a new enemy. There's dogs now. The dogs are a bit broken, but that doesn't mean I should underestimate them. Taking the side path off the street, we enter a park. We have to take out some enemies on the stairs before we head over to this fountain. Here we discover a corpse, and when checking it out, we take the bow they're clutching in their hand and pop the Quiver Down Your Spine achievement for acquiring the bow and arrow. Shortly after this, in the middle of the park, we see a light and head towards it. Stumbling upon a large pile of bodies, we break out the radio and find the fourth signal, earning the Guilty Conscience achievement pop. On the far side of the park is a locked gate with a decaying woman suspended from the bars. There's a lock where her chest used to be and a wallet on the ground in front of her. Taking the wallet provides us with a key, enabling us to enter the home with the light on upstairs. Trekking back to the house, we enter and find a video camera. We watch the footage and a large enemy bursts through the wall. Panicking, I retreated and took aim. The creature landed a smack on me and hit me into the stairs, triggering the animation of me going upstairs. Investigating the second floor with the enemy still downstairs, we get a prompt to use our radio again. Listening to another echo of the past pops the A Spoonful of Sugar achievement for finding the fifth signal. In the next room, there's a tripod aimed out the window. We head back downstairs and take out the enemy, clearing the home. Taking the video camera back upstairs, we set it on the tripod and it's aiming at the house across the street. Heading over to the other house, we find a yo-yo and a coat hanger. Combining the two together crafts a hook that we can use to pull the plug on an electrified bathtub on the first floor, earning us a key to the lock in the woman's chest. Making it back to the gate, we unlock it and head through, entering a graveyard next to a large church. Inside the church, we come across another one of the weapons, earning the Boomstick achievement for obtaining the shotgun. Within the church, there's a puzzle we need to solve. Examining the graves outside gives us the solution, and upon completing the puzzle, the floor of the church opens up, revealing a set of stairs we can use to go underground. Beneath the church, we enter the sewer system. This place is the worst, being packed with tight tunnels and a decent amount of enemies. Down here we find a gate we can't open, and we also need to solve a puzzle. Solving the puzzle causes us to trip out and start teleporting through the sewers before ending up next to a ladder. Climbing the ladder takes us into the heart of the city. The streets are packed with enemies we have to deal with because there's a lot of stuff to collect here and many things to do. In the first little section, we eliminate the enemies and come across another radio prompt, earning the Resident Upheaval achievement for finding the 6th signal. Afterward, we start a fire in a building and find a pair of scissors. The fire causes some windows to break, enabling us to crawl through and enter the next portion of the city. 2 very important items lie within this portion of the city. We find another metal contraption like the one we found in the residential area, and it's here that we also find a car jack. Near the end of this area, we enter a shop and pick up a pack of fuses as well. Now it's time for the insane backtracking portion. We head back to the apartment building and use one of our 3 fuses to fix an electrical box to lift one of the shutters that closed, locking us out of the building. Heading through, we head to a very specific room that has a hole in the floor we were able to investigate way earlier. Using the yo-yo hook here gets us a key to that one apartment we were unable to open while here. We head to that apartment, unlock the door, and when inside, we find a flamethrower lying on the table. Picking it up gets us the Cooking on Gas achievement pop. That's the final weapon we needed to find and 1 set of collectibles down, but we're not done. Making our way out of the apartment building where we entered it at the beginning of the game, we head through the parking lot to find the body of the man that jumped off the roof. On his body, we find a note. Picking it up earns us the Living with Ghosts achievement. Heading back through the apartments to the residential area, we head back to the house where we found the video camera. Next to the home is a garage door we can now open using the car jack. Inside we find a blowtorch which will come in handy in a moment. And this is where I realized I forgot a step in the whole process. Back at the shop where we picked up the fuses, I was supposed to go a bit further ahead before starting the backtracking. I made my way all the way back there and used one of the 2 remaining fuses to open a shutter door. Going through, we take out a bunch of enemies and head past a playground to find another shutter door. Using the car jack to open it, we pop the Jacked achievement. I'm not sure why it only pops when opening this door when we've already used it to open the other garage, but it is what it is. In here, we open a lockbox with our scissors, and when we do, a key falls out. It falls through a grate, and now we have to go get that. We head all the way back through the city and enter the sewers. Here we can find the key floating in the poopy water. Combining the yo-yo hook with the car jack gets us a makeshift fishing rod to obtain the key. Now, we head back through the park to the residential area to the metal contraption. Using the key here rewards us with a floppy disk and pops the Disc 1 of 3 achievement for finding the first of 3 discs. Making our way back to the sewers again, we can use the blowtorch we found to burn through the gate down there and find another metal contraption. This is when we pop the Disc 2 of 3 achieve. I don't know why I didn't just grab this while I grabbed the key, but I'm acoustic and I wanted to get them in order. Moving on back to the city, I reached the last contraption and got the Disc 3 of 3 achieve for finding the last disc. The discs are done and that's another set of collectibles down. However, I fucked up yet again and I wouldn't realize it until I started my next playthrough. But we'll get to that. Making our way back to the playground, we roam around and come across another radio signal. We listen to it and pop the Not for Grown-Ups achievement. Around the corner from here, we locate a door that can only be opened with a hand scanner. Searching a little ways down the road, we find the deceased body of a man and use the scissors to cut off his hand, popping the Handy achievement. We take the hand back to the scanner and head through the door, which leads us to another small section of the city before heading down to the subway system. Down in the subway, we find a wall that has a hole in it and need to figure out a way to break it down. While looking around, we get yet another radio prompt, listen, and pop the This Station is Non-Operational achievement for finding the 8th signal. We carry on further into the station and find another fuse box, adding our last fuse and restoring power to the subway. With the power back on, we can now purchase a subway pass from a kiosk at the entrance. In order to do that, though, we'll need to find some money first. Down the hall, we find a corpse that has plastic explosives strapped to it. We can take this and use it on the wall, gaining access to the other half of the station. Venturing past the wall, we deal with many more enemies and make our way to a restroom. Finding another body within the restrooms, we loot them for some coins. We head back to the kiosk, buy a pass, and head through the turnstiles. We follow the tracks from here and encounter a large crater. This is the point of no return, and being satisfied with what I've done, I head into the depths. We wind up in a twisting maze of seemingly infected earth littered with the corpses of researchers. Eventually, we come across one of them with a detonator in their hand. Upon taking the detonator, an extremely large creature barrels through the wall, beginning a chase sequence boss fight. Running through the maze, we use the detonator to activate several explosives, eventually taking the behemoth down. Now we're able to crawl through the hole left by the creature. Doing so, we find Sasha and begin the ending sequence. To avoid spoilies, I'll jump ahead to the results. After the cutscenes play out, we earn the Reunion achievement for getting the reunion ending. Walkie-talkie achievement for finding all the lost signals. The Logomaniac achievement for finding every single document in the game. Whatever It Takes achievement for completing the game on intended difficulty, followed by the Closure achievement for completing the game on any difficulty. This leaves us with just 4 more achievements to get. This leads to my fuck up from earlier. After collecting all the discs, I was supposed to take them to a terminal where I got the key for the contraptions. However, having collected all the discs and trying to focus on making sure I found all the documents and radio signals, I completely forgot about it. This means that now I have to do all of the backtracking nightmare again on my punished difficulty playthrough. I could have just loaded a save and knocked this one out easily, but I found a way to get all the remaining achievements in one more playthrough. I was trying to get rid of any extra playtime that I could. So in starting my playthrough on punished difficulty, I had to keep several things in mind. I'll be taking you through these steps rather quickly. First thing, I was going to combine the 2 remaining endings into one run. This brings us back to the repair spray I said would come into play at the top of the video. The secret ending requires us to play through the entire game on the hardest difficulty, only healing 3 or less times. However, the repair spray at the beginning that enables us to walk faster than a snail's pace counts towards the number, leaving us with only 2 heals for the entire game. The other ending depends on the man that jumped off the roof earlier. We need to make sure that during the dialogue, we end with him stepping off the ledge back onto the roof. Doing so will result in him tagging along for the rest of the game. With the man following us and keeping the heals in mind, we head through the game per usual. I ran past the majority of the enemies this time, which was kind of a pain in the ass when doing the backtracking again. While I was running back and grabbing the discs again, I came to the one in the sewers. On the opposite side of the room is a corpse with a portable battery lying next to him. I needed to pick this up the first time, but didn't. Gathering the rest of the discs, I head back to the room where the key fell through the grate. In here, there is a computer terminal that we plug the battery into and then use all 3 discs. When putting the last disc into the machine, the Truth achievement pops for using the terminal. At this point, I had healed the 3 allotted times and had to make it through the last section of the city, the subway section, and the boss maze without healing. We end up in the boss maze and take out the creature and head towards the exit. This is the moment where we find out if we got the secret ending. As soon as we crawl through the ending, we should see a doghouse. Upon crawling through, there it is. We're greeted by this talking dog and he leads us to the end of the game. Unfortunately, the game kind of broke here, and I don't know what I was supposed to see, but it ain't this. I just kind of stood here for a moment, and the game wrapped up with the other ending. After the cutscene played out, we popped the Riven achievement for getting the Riven ending, the Woof achievement for getting the secret dog ending, and the Masochist achievement for finishing the game on punished difficulty. And that's it. All Hollowbody achievements in the bag. I thought this game was great. I had a good time throughout both my playthroughs. I will say the game is a bit jank at times, but nothing crazy to the point where I was disappointed or the game was unplayable. Aside from the dog ending screwing up, nothing really that bad happened. I love the PS2 style they chose to go with, and I think it added to the creepy factor quite a bit. It was a little stressful keeping so many different things in mind while playing, but it was rewarding to collect everything and get those achievement pops. I would recommend this game as it's a fun little indie survival horror, perfect for the spooky season. If you're still here, thank you so much. I know this video was a lot and had many moving parts that I was just chucking at you, but your support means the most. Don't forget to hit that like button for me, and if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. Thank you again, enjoy your day, and I will see you in another video. Smooches.